Ministry of Culture, Media and Sport has started its new incarnation under Lucy Fraser. And what have we seen? Well, actually more of the same. There's a new initiative about football. There's a plan to set up a new independent regulator to help prevent football clubs failing. They're thinking particularly of Derby County, Bury, Macclesfield Town and so on. And to strengthen the clubs and their fan base, to give power to block English clubs from joining breakaway leagues like the European Super League, and to generally monitor what's going on. Well, it seems to me this is a version of OFCOM for football or for sports. And then you look at the Department of Culture, Media and Sport at their main page. And what is disturbing is there's a plan for football. There's a plan about King Charles's legacy and prestigious awards, but it seems to be again, sports-based. There's a piece about the Lioness Jill Scott opening a football pitch named in her honour. There's a piece about Birmingham 2022 and an 870 million contribution to the UK economy and the success of the Birmingham Commonwealth Games. And there's a small piece about an ancient Egyptian limestone relief of female musicians at risk of leaving the UK. That is it. And you just think, well, it's a very modest it's a very modest remit. And it's divided into, it used to be divided into four, now it's divided into three: culture, media and sport. Where is the emphasis on culture and media? And then we look at our theatres and our ailing film industry, the desperation of the animation industry to get tax breaks, particularly after Brexit. Before Brexit, there were tax breaks to be had. Now, many of our smaller animation providers, animation studios, are thinking seriously about moving abroad or offloading the serious work of animation to companies based in Europe or beyond, because we simply can't afford to work here. The government, which should be helping the arts, is not, because it's more interested in sport, because that's an easier sell maybe. And I don't understand. We have had a string of culture secretaries who have no interest in culture. The only culture they seem to know is the stuff that grows on the top of cheese, it seems. Nadine Dorries as culture secretary. Just madness. And Lucy Fraser. And one in between whose name I've completely forgotten. Oh, Michelle Donnellan. And, you know, it's not only that. It's issues like the safety of people on television. Katie Waissel, in the end, wrote to the Home Secretary because she wasn't, I suspect, like me, getting any response from the Digital Media, Culture and Sport Minister, as was. And I strongly suspect she won't get a letter back from Suella Braverman, who again probably doesn't care. You know, why? Because any problems can be tossed off to OFCOM. And OFCOM's remit is limited. The government will say, go to OFCOM, and OFCOM will say, why are you coming to me? And it's a sort of circle. And I think the longer this goes on, the more chance there is that our arts are going to collapse. The arts took the brunt of a lot of the COVID catastrophe. The arts were not properly supported during COVID. Now the businesses were, but the arts, because they're so dependent on people who are self-employed and people who are moving from job to job, particularly actors, they really suffered. And then we really suffered during the strikes at the beginning of the year, when theatres were forced to close down because audiences simply couldn't get to the theatre. That time when theatres depend on the revenue from pantomimes. A whole week gone because of industrial action. And the Minister for Digital Culture, Media and Sport, that was Michelle Donnellan, the person whose name I sort of forget, wasn't saying anything. She was mute. She thought it was all to do with the Department of Transport. It wasn't. It was her responsibility too. What did she do to help those ailing theatres? Nothing. Nothing. And that, I'm afraid, has been the signal response of the Digital Culture, Media and Sport Ministry, now the Culture, Media and Sport Ministry. It's not interested in culture and media. It's simply not interested. Please, let me know. Let me know if I'm wrong. But I'd like to see what the Digital Culture, Media and Sport has done for culture in the last 2 years. 2 years. That's a good time frame. A good time frame. Let me know. Let me know one thing that the ministry has done to make life better for the arts.